questions.
Yeah, today I wanted to talk about the differences between Christianity and Buddhism, especially from the point of view of making progress for enlightenment, and also just living in the world. The reason I'm asking is because today I met someone. I met a guy who lost, I think, his brother or someone very close, someone very close to him, and he converted from Buddhism to Christianity. I think around that time, and he
Yeah,
told,
that happens quite a bit.
yeah,
Both ways, actually, both ways. But go ahead.
yeah, and he was telling me how helpful it has been. He was telling me how he has found Jesus, and how now he's like a devout Christian. Like he was telling me all the good things about Christianity, and I was just but then if I when I really asked him what made him change his mind, it was pretty much, oh, Jesus did miracles and Buddha did not do any miracle. So if I have to believe in anyone, why wouldn't I pick someone who said he was a son of God, rather than Buddha, who basically just helped people with their mind stuff.
Well, first of all, when you say he was a Buddhist, that means a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a universe of difference between church Buddhism and deep Buddhism, deep Huayan Buddhism, or Zen Buddhism,
Mm-hmm.
or the non-dual traditions.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea how Buddhist he was, or whether he just chose Buddhism because it was the least offensive and it takes the least amount of work. That's why some people choose it.
I think so he's Asian, so I think he grew up in a Buddhist culture, but he was like typical of how people
Did
are.
he? Did he?
Yeah,
Because in Asia, there's Christians, there's Buddhists, there's Shinto, there's all kinds of different things.
hmm I mean, but
What country was he from?
he told me his family was
Was he Korean or Japanese or Chinese or
uh,
Vietnamese?
I think he might be Chinese, but I'm not really sure. I don't remember
Uh,
asking yeah, where he
well, they
grew up
outlawed
from.
religion in China, but that's a separate subject.
Hmm.
Okay, so good for him, I suppose. That's good.
Yeah. It,
Hopefully, he'll find something more in Christianity than just the miracles of
mhm.
Jesus,
But
because there's a lot more there.
yeah, but I see the same kind of ideology in a lot of people, including me, when I first started looking for help with the issue I was dealing with, in religions. I also wanted to just find something where there will be miracle, showing a miraculous way to somehow get everything fixed, and a miraculous way to believe in things. So it seems like.
In the Bible, there's a beautiful passage about when I was a child, I reasoned like a child, and I was preoccupied like a child.
Mhm.
But when I grew up and became a man, then I started to see more clearly,
Mhm.
right? So as someone matures in their understanding, they may or they may not, mature in what's appealing to them or
Mhm.
compelling to them
Mhm.
in different traditions.
Mhm.
One thing that people oftentimes don't consider is just the life of Jesus.
Mhm.
And what I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that. There is no doubt about that. And the fact that he was crucified at age 33, and if you read the transcripts of his interactions with people and with the church authorities, the Jewish authorities,
Mhm.
it's really very, very extraordinary, extremely extraordinary. And so some people find that very compelling.
Mhm.
A man who gives up his life
Mhm.
for the sake of other people. So, these religious or spiritual thought
Mhm.
really depends almost wholly on the perspective, the level of understanding of the person.
Mhm.
Unless you're into fundamental religions, a religious belief where you just believe whatever the imam or the priest or the whomever it may be tells you what you're supposed to believe, and you just believe it because you were brought up with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that your friend is only, it sounds like he's just starting the journey.
I mean,
And this
he's
loss triggered it.
yeah, I think he's like 62.
Oh, okay. Well, that happens too. People start converting to Christianity as they get older and start facing death.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so again, I don't know what kind of Buddhist he was up until age 62,
Mm-hmm.
but I hope he finds some peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would also, I think, I would also introspecting my own mind uh, about like these things about Buddhism, Christianity, because
Is it
I,
your own mind?
sorry,
Is it your own mind?
I mean, like the thoughts and the stuff, whatever the contents are, I
So you
maybe,
say those are yours. That's something that you created and that you
maybe,
nurtured or whatever, and
maybe,
that you own.
maybe I would say it's not that my mind, like it's not that I own these because all these ideas came from outside. I learned it along
Okay.
the way and stuff like that. So
What kind of boundary is the part of your mind that's from the inside and the part that's from the outside? Where could
well,
you find the
I
boundary?
think that's more of a like a analogy because right now I don't.
No, it's not an analogy. I'm speaking now as a psychiatrist, as a student of the mind.
Oh, I
How do you
mean,
decide that a thought is yours
oh yeah, I meant.
as opposed to something you've inherited from millions of years of evolution,
Mm-hmm,
or scores of years of acculturation?
mm-hmm.
How do you decide that the thought is yours?
Yeah, so right now, like when I really feel it, I don't feel a boundary of the mind. What I do feel is the thoughts that bubble up, and these thoughts are within a certain area in the like around, uh, yeah, in a certain localized area where these thoughts seem to come up. I can't see that, but I can feel it that they are coming up in this like local area.
That's interesting. How do you know that where do they come from, first of all?
So these thoughts seem to arise out of nowhere.
Okay. So how could you make nowhere local?
It's the
I mean, I'm
feeling.
just curious how. So you think they bubble up inside your skull?
I can't say it's inside my skull. So, like for example, the way I feel a tree, which is like let's say half a mile away from me, so it seems farther in my mind. But when a thought bubbles up, it feels closer in my mind.
Okay, good, 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 good. All right, keep
So
going.
yeah, so I can maybe I can say relatively they feel closer compared to other objects in my mind that I experience.
Like with distance, right?
Yeah, with distance. Yeah.
Interesting. So the closer you feel it, the more likely you think it is to be yours.
So okay. So I don't think that those thoughts are me, or let's say like it's the same thing like how I can call my body as my body, but it's literally it's a different thing. Like word is not the thing. Maybe here too.
The word is not the thing.
Maybe here too. Yeah. So like when I say my thoughts, I'm not claiming an ownership of these thoughts. I'm just saying that they are in my experience, and that's it.
Okay. So if I say the stars at night are big and bright,
Yeah.
whose thought is that now?
You mean the thought or the image, or yeah, whatever came up.
Yeah.
So it's something I experience now after you said it, but it was kind of inspired by your speech.
Kind of inspired.
Yeah, it was inspired by your speech. Yeah,
Okay. So is that your thought or my thought?
I can only say it's in my experience. I can't say it's your thought or my
Okay.
thought.
Good. 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 That's fair. That's fair. Good.
Yeah,
So it's in your experience. So
yeah.
this is what meditation is for. I mean, this is one of the reasons for meditation, is to examine like these mysterious thoughts that seem to come from nowhere, and then where do they go?
Yeah, they come out of nowhere and they seem to disappear to nowhere.
All right, so study that. Study the phenomenology of your own mind. Do it very, very carefully, because these are important questions. Okay.
So when you say study, so like I think I have spent a considerable amount of time trying to figure out the where are these thoughts coming from. Like I tried to zone in, or maybe if I can find like some dark area somewhere they are coming up, but I don't seem to be able to find any where these are coming up.
Right. So then you say that they're yours, but then are you clear on who the you is?
So I can only say clearly that they are in my experience. I don't think I can say they are mine. I can only say that they are in my
So then
experience.
maybe it's more accurate to say, I have an experience, whether it's a tree or there is an experience.
Yeah.
There's a tree in the distance.
Yeah.
Now, let's say you were in the desert and it was just all sand, and you saw that tree that you were talking about. Would that be a close or distant thought?
Sorry, I am in a desert and I saw a tree in the desert.
Yeah, but it's like, remember you gave the example of a tree that's far away?
Yeah.
So you see a tree in the desert, and it's just as far away as the other tree was.
Yeah.
But it's the only tree. Is that thought close or far?
You mean the thought? The thought is pretty much the same, similar, like in terms of distance, it's similar.
Okay, all right. So it's not necessarily geographic distance for the stimulus of the thought. What stimulated the thought?
Yeah, let me see. So like if I see this tree which is just like outside, and I see a one which is farther, they both seem so relatively, actually, like like just from now, the relative distance between the one that is just outside my window and the one that is far away, they seem pretty similar.
The thoughts are still seem to come from the same place and go to the same place.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's what I mean by studying your mind.
Okay.
It's nothing fancy. It's just like being curious and trying to sort out, well, where are these thoughts coming from, really?
Okay.
All right.
So where we were.
I know it may sound a little wacky, but the universe is a little wacky from a traditional perspective. All right, keep going. Good.
Yeah. So I think where we were talking about, Jesus and Buddha and the miracles that are laid out in Christianity. I think, so I was thinking about like my thought process in the past as well. And it seemed to me that if I have to, so like, let's say I follow, not follow, like, I go through Buddha's teachings and I go through Jesus' teachings, because Jesus is not just someone who lived a like a great life and was very helpful to people and sacrificed himself for people. I follow him because he gives me basically an opportunity to go beyond, like to get enlightened. So it's not
that's true.
So it's not only like living a good life or living a life that is like sacrificing for other people. That is not the threshold. Like that is not the criteria. For me, at least. For me, I wanna follow someone or where they can show me the true reality, not just a good life.
What did Jesus say about those other people?
Which other people?
Okay, so in Buddhist, in the Buddhist understanding, everything is interconnected. Everything is interdependent. And the self is an illusory, construction of the mind and the brain. Right? that when you deconstruct it, there's no self there. All right. Now in Christianity, there's, what did Jesus say about that? So I guess another way to approach this is, what are the differences between the teachings of Buddha and the teachings of Jesus? What are the differences?
Yeah, I think from what I have read so far, their teachings seem very similar, pretty much along the same lines. So like Jesus, I think whatever, like the few things I've heard about Jesus, which he said, one is like treat your neighbors as yourself, or like let a dead
Right.
bury the dead. They point to the same thing which Buddha points to. So for me, both Buddha and Jesus are basically these helpful figures who basically help people to see the true reality.
What about for Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do? What about Christian forgiveness? Does that come up in Buddhism?
Christian forgiveness? Oh, you mean that confession thing that people do in churches?
No. I mean, Jesus, as he was dying, said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." About the people who are crucifying them.
Yeah.
Does the Buddha say anything similar to that?
So Buddha's, so I think in Avatamsaka, they say the same thing, that sentient beings do things because of ignorance, because of lack of knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. And the notion of forgiveness is somewhat bypassed because in both traditions, because Jesus said, "Judge not, lest ye be judged," right? And the Buddhists say, well, people may act out of ignorance, but everyone is ignorant, right? Until they understand the true nature of reality. And so the idea of judgment doesn't even come up.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a very interesting distinction that I noticed from the Dalai Lama when I was studying with him. Some woman raised her hand and she started talking about low self-esteem. And the Dalai Lama, the way he does, he started scratching his head and he looked very puzzled. And he turned to his translator, and the translator tried to explain it to the Dalai Lama that in the West we have this thing called low self-esteem, where you think badly of yourself or something like that. And the Dalai Lama found that truly mystifying. I mean, he just couldn't understand it. And what he said was that, we don't have the same thing in the East. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I think that, for example, in places like Japan and for example, or Korea, people do have this problem with self-esteem.
Same in India. Yeah, in India, people have the same problem. Yeah.
Yeah, but because the Dalai Lama, who admittedly grew up in a fairly both sheltered and non-sheltered life, because he had to escape Tibet when he was a young man, across the mountains to get to India. But I don't think the people around him really covered that topic. That's the impression I got.
I think I have seen, at least for myself and the people I know, self-esteem, like the issue of self-esteem comes up always in relation to something that people wanna achieve or get. So if someone is not pursuing anything, let's say, and just living their life, then even for me self-esteem was not an issue. It's only when I tried to get something and I realized that there are some traits or some things I have that are blocking me from getting that, then this issue started coming up. So maybe because Dalai Lama lived in a monastery and lived that kind of life, maybe that's why he was not aware of these self-esteem issues.
I think that may be part of it. But another thing that's a curiosity from a psychiatric point of view is, what about shame? What's the difference between guilt and shame in, let's say, India?
So in India, guilt is something when I did something wrong. It's just I know that I did something wrong. And shame is when I did something wrong, so which is so bad that I am ashamed of myself. So I think it's a difference of intensity between guilt and shame. Shame is much more negative, much more suffering.
Okay, now these are just two words, right?
Yeah.
So and we're just dealing with words here. But if I might, let me just point out a way that guilt and shame were differentiated in the 20th century in psychiatry, right? And what these professors said was that guilt, deep down inside, was a fear of being punished because you've done something wrong and you deserve punishment, or something like that. So guilt is fear of being punished, and shame was fear of being ostracized or abandoned by the tribe or the people around you, or if people found out, they would not want to associate with you or something like that. So shame was a fear of abandonment or fear of rejection, fear of the judgment of others, fear of things like that. It was more of it had to do more with other people than did guilt.
Okay.
So anyway, I just offer that now. Words like envy and jealousy are, again, two words, and what they mean can change from century to century. But I just offer that just as an interesting data point in case people find it useful. Okay, keep going.
Yeah,
we didn't find any major differences between Christianity and Buddhism.
I think at least for me, there are not many differences, because I see both the figure of Buddha and Jesus as teachers who are basically teaching me to get to a path of enlightenment, to get to true reality. So I don't see a difference.
Supreme teachers, right?
Yeah, supreme teachers.
Both
yeah,
of them.
yeah.
Now, here's another difference that people might say. They say that in Christianity, you must declare your faith. There's a doctrine of faith, and you must believe on faith, and you must, and good Christians go and they try and spread their religion. That's something else that I don't think the Buddhists proselytize. I know they don't anymore, if they ever did. So there's a difference.
I think faith.
So the public declaration of faith, if that is truly, I don't know that Jesus, he told his disciples to go and spread the word, right? And I'm not sure that occurs in Buddhism. So there's another difference. Another difference might be the Holy Spirit, the doctrine of the Holy Spirit, which, in Buddhism, I don't think they delineated it exactly the same way. So I'm sure we can find differences, especially if we look at religion as defined by the doctrines of a particular sect, like Calvinism or Catholicism or evangelical Christianity. But the same is true for Buddhism.
Yeah, I think for me, I can see I'm operating on faith on both Buddha and Jesus, because both seems a promise of experiencing true reality, and I am operating on that. So I can say that
or redemption, right? Washing away your sins.
So I don't want to use the word redemption, because I'm not operating from the point of view of sin or fear or things like that.
Correct. So I think that may be a difference, because it's fairly axiomatic that Jesus died to deliver us from sin, right? He was a sacrificial. The thing, people don't know this usually, that the Jews and the Christians and not the Christians, but the Jews and the Muslims and for pretty much everybody else used to do animal sacrifice, literal animal sacrifices of blood, right? And this was true in the times before Jesus. And these sacrifices also occur in all kinds of different cultures that have nothing to do with Buddhism or Christianity. But the notion that instead of sacrificing something else, that the man would sacrifice himself to atone for our shortcomings or whatever, I think that's very unique to Christianity.
That's unique, but I think I don't get it, because I don't see how sacrificing oneself and saying that, oh, this is to deliver everyone from their sins.
And correct. So there's another difference, that in the Abrahamic traditions, I'm not sure about Islam, but the notion of original sin is, something that if you wanted to, you could say, well, that's a foundational Christian belief that you're born into sin or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's not shared with with Buddhism or Hinduism or Taoism that I know of.
Yeah.
So that's something else. That's another thing.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to think about why these things came about, right? And the notion of the sacrificial lamb is something that I think I don't know if they still do animal sacrifices at Mecca,
Mm-hmm.
but they used to, right?
Yeah.
And
I
it's
mean,
interesting the way humans have this, this universal need to sacrifice something of value to appease or to please or to obey a god.
sometimes I wonder, is it possible that humans just made, like, imagine things? So, like, when the Jesus was crucified and he was killed, uh, that could have been just how the events unfolded, and then after his death, people tried to make a meaning out of it. So they said, "Oh, that's because Jesus wanted to deliver everyone from the sins."
Well, but the problem, okay, so the issue then becomes whether Christians believe in the literal physical resurrection of Jesus,
Yeah.
which I think most of them would say is a necessary article of faith.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the Buddhists have anything like that, although they do have, you know, the Buddhas being reincarnated and coming. Well, actually, the Bodhisattvas make a vow
Mm-hmm.
to return to the earth uh, to till all sentient beings are freed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's similar, but it's not exactly the same. It's not, you know.
Yeah, it's not the same because in the book they say reincarnation is a defilement.
I'm sorry, say that again.
So in the Avatam Saka, they do mention that even the idea of reincarnation is a defilement in the mind.
Yes. Okay. All right. So at some point, but remember, the Avatar Sutra is a highly advanced Buddhist text, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's probably the pinnacle of Buddhist thought,
Mm-hmm.
and action. And so at any rate, all of these things are really worth spending time on. I mean, there's a few things in life that are worth more than understanding, the spiritual nature of man
Mm-hmm.
and how that's been manifest both in the past and now in the present, and how it applies to you directly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So good.
But for some things, I just like feels like I'm stumbling onto a wall. So like when I think about Jesus performing miracles, right, and then I do not see anyone like right now, at least I know, in the current world who is performing miracle. So it just makes me feel like miracles might be something that people imagined or conjured up. I don't know.
Well, but that has to do with your state. I mean, there are doctors buried in South America, for example, that do surgery without anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
There are I guess you'd just call them. I don't want to. All the names are kind of derogatory, but there are people who do faith healing,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that requires the faith of the person being healed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other folks. I mean, so for example, a rash on the palms of the hand is a very rare thing in medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I mean, there's very few things that can cause that, syphilis being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But the mind can create these rashes. I've seen it myself,
I
or
mean,
create other kinds of manifestations. But it requires a mind that's open to that. Do you see what I'm saying?
yeah, so the rash thing, like doctors said that it's because of a viral thing, and it's a common side effect of a viral that people get rashes on their hands.
Of common side effect of what?
So like some if someone had a viral and then the viral like they recovered from that, but then the for some reason some people get rashes on their hands after the viral has gone away, like after they have recovered from viral.
You mean a virus?
Yeah, infection. Yeah,
Okay,
viral infection.
virus. Yes, but you can't. But it's That's very difficult. I mean, I know this as a physician, I've seen it many times actually, especially in San Antonio, conversion reactions where psychological distress or trauma or overwhelming stress is converted into a physical symptom in which the patient can't walk, or the patient, stays comatose, or the patient develops rashes on their body in strange places. I mean, these are well documented. Psychosomatic conversion reactions. At any rate, there's also cases of people waking up from comas and people being, relieved of, so I guess what I'm trying to say is the miracle is something that's in the eye of the beholder.
No, but then we should be
Go
able.
ahead.
But then we should be able to differentiate between random encounters and someone intentionally able to perform miracle.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind, because I've seen it happen, that faith healers can perform what looks like a miracle. Now I'm talking about, basically witch doctors and so on and so forth. I mean, they get a bad name because Western medicine doesn't like the idea that there's all these other routes. Okay, so I don't know. I probably shouldn't get too far into that topic, but faith healing does occur.
Okay.
I guess that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But the patient has to have faith. Right? So who knows? I guess is the way I'd put it. Now, are miracles something you're going to believe every person that says, "Oh, I know how to perform miracles. I know this guy that does miracles." Absolutely not. But because people are gullible, people are credulous, people are easily swayed, and they want to believe what they want to believe. But then again, people see what they want to see, or so when you understand the power of the mind in this universe, right? The power of the mind to manifest all kinds of strange things, then the notion of miracle or not miracle or whatever becomes, I don't know what to say. I mean, I don't know how to make that division in any kind of reliable way. People have visions, for example.
Yeah.
And they're not psychotic, and they're not toxic. Or people are inspired and they swear that they've been inspired by the outside, by something outside of them. So just keep an open mind, I guess is what I'm saying.
I mean, I think...
Christian Birdie, for example, Christian Birdie's a very sober guy. He doesn't like talking about this. I don't either, right? Particularly.
Yeah.
But he swears that some Indian holy man came to his place and levitated off the floor. And that's not the kind of thing that Christian Birdie likes to talk about. But I read it myself personally in one of his accounts.
Really?
And they did other things as well, right? So was it? And the Sufis describe, dervishes usually altering the mind of the host such that they are transported here or there, or they see this or that or whatever. And we know that some people have the capacity to induce strange things in the minds of some people. How's that?
Yeah.
So at any rate,
I think I'm open to the idea theoretically, but right now there's just so much resistance to believing this stuff that...
And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Because one does not need, in my opinion, one does not need faith to observe the true miraculousness of this universe. I mean, it's useful, especially in the beginning, because it takes quite a bit of energy to get yourself aligned or whatever. But faith is not the determining factor. This universe is plenty miraculous and mysterious without any of that woo stuff, But I think that just to be sober about it, you got to admit that there are many accounts of things that seem like they don't have a the usual kind of explanation.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
yeah.
let's just put an I don't know
Mm-hmm.
around some of those things until you have more data. So there's nothing wrong with you being what's the word, suspicious or unwilling to compromise on things that violate, for let's say, the laws of physics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good attitude.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would love to be totally open to that, because then my mind will be more open, and I will have less fears and less desires.
To open to what?
To open to like these things that, like, so just the idea of just like seeing a miracle, or like seeing things like this, is for me, is like a good step in letting in knowing that the self is like not the thing. Like, I don't have to worry about me as such.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what you said, but I can tell you this: even with your attitude the way it is,
Mm-hmm.
the chances are you're going to encounter some things in your life that are completely beyond your capacity to explain, given our current understanding of the universe. I mean, from a scientific point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying just keep on trucking.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think I was just saying that if I can.
Like, for example, telepathy. Telepathy is very real, and once you've experienced it, there's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some people that say that that's the kind of woo-woo miracle stuff. Well, I say it's neither woo-woo nor particularly miracle. We just don't understand the mechanism. Mm-hmm. And so things like that. So just keep your mind honed. Mm-hmm. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. Then I do have a few questions from Avatam Saka.
Okay, good.
So this is from the book 10 Dedications. It's a small paragraph that I'll read, and then I'll ask the question.
Okay, go ahead.
So it says, by means of such peerless dedication, great enlightening beings proceed toward omniscience, their minds broad and vast as space, without any limitations. Entering inconceivability, they know all actions and the resulting consequences are null. So their minds are always equanimous. Having no bounds, they are able to enter all realms of reality. So, yeah, so that is pretty much the paragraph. And in this one, when they say they know all actions and the resulting consequences are null.
Are null, exactly.
Yeah. So
they know what David Hume describes as the problem of causality. Mm-hmm. So I mean, we use causality, in our day-to-day life. I mean, it'd be impossible to think of, to do much without that. But it's an assumption, a big assumption. Mm-hmm. And in fact, neither scientists nor philosophers can prove causality. Mm-hmm. And even though it seems so self-evident, a lot of things seem self-evident, but they're not. Mm-hmm. I mean, not when you get down to the scientific or the deep Buddhist understanding of reality. It's much more mysterious than that. So a very good thing you could do with some time is to confront this problem of causality. Mm-hmm. And the example we trot out usually is if a man with a pool cue hits the white ball and it hits the red ball and the red ball goes into the pocket, what caused the white ball to move? Mm-hmm. And then you go to the pool cue, then you go to the man, and then you go to the mind, and then you go to the impulse in the mind, and then you get from there. You keep going backwards, and you can't find a beginning. You can't find a beginning to that motion. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this kind of fits with the current. There's a popular description of the universe as a unified wave function. Mm-hmm. Trying to integrate quantum mechanics to where everything is connected to everything else because it's all the same wave function. Now, what does that sound like? Well, that sounds like the net of Indra, right? So that thing about read it again, just that sentence.
So it says they know all actions and the resulting consequences are null.
No, right. So well, let's do it this way as a terrible shortcut. And no, let's not take the shortcut. Let's just go ahead and think about that.
Hmm.
The question of causality.
So I have contemplated about causality in the past. I'm not able to like really figure out an actual cause for anything. But
Right.
but in spite of that,
Neither could David Hume, the great Scottish philosopher, right?
yeah. But in spite of that, events do happen. So like let's say if someone gets hit by a bus and they die. So even
Do they
though
happen?
I mean events, so like someone gets killed in an accident, then that does happen.
It sure looks like that,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah.
But how many actions is it really?
Sorry, what? How many what?
Actions are actually involved in that.
I mean, it's definitely like a lot went in to to make that.
Where is that action separated from the rest of the universe?
Yeah, it's a universe unfolding, and then there are like consequences.
Okay, all right, okay, so that's the unified field theory that they're using now is the substrate, what they call a substrate,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just mathematically defined.
Mm-hmm.
We still haven't answered the question. We just slap some more words on it and said, oh, it's a unified wave. But even then, what starts the unified wave, or what moves the unified wave? Anyway, these are just things to keep contemplating. Anyway, so it's there in the Avatar Saka precisely. So you stop and you think about that one.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I was thinking
Because is this a dream world or is there some inherent reality to it?
so like if I okay, so there are like I think there are two thought processes that came up when I was thinking about it. The first one was, let's say there is no personal self, then I can see, okay, that I care about the consequences because of the personal self. If there's no personal self in the universe, it's just unfolding, then yeah, it doesn't really matter one way or the other, because it's
Why
just
does it matter less or more? Because of the personal self.
yeah, because the personal self, yeah.
Well, but I think you're okay. Maybe I would tend to agree with you if what you were talking about was awareness. If there's no awareness in the universe, then it doesn't matter. But that's the word we use for experience,
Mm-hmm.
conscious experience. So what you're telling me is that the word self is so important to you that if it wasn't there, you couldn't see any meaning in the universe. Is that what you're saying?
If the self is not there, then there are no consequences to worry about.
There's no consequences to worry about in any case, but it has nothing to do with the self. Okay, so okay, I'm going to jump ahead and just say what exists is experience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can hypothesize a universe where we could do it for the fun of it, hypothesize a universe where there is no experience.
Mm-hmm.
There is no experience or there is no experience. Now, in that universe, what difference does it make if anything happens,
Mm-hmm.
if there's no experience involved?
Mm-hmm.
Now, experience is consciousness or awareness. I mean, those are two crude words, but basically, without that, there is no universe.
But I can't deny the phenomena of experience, because experience is the only thing I
That's what. Okay,
I can
good.
be sure
So,
of.
so why are you concerned about this self thing so much?
Because because so like when someone got into an accident and they died, it the consequence mattered to them that they died.
So you think they died? Do they think they died?
That's the unknown,
What do you?
right?
What if you turn out to be the universe?
Yeah, that's the unknown, right? That if so that's why I said if there's a personal self, if there's a personal entity that died, then it matters. But if there's no entity like that, then it doesn't matter.
See, I'd say the opposite. But that's fine. That's good. Just keep thinking about it.
Or
see, from my point of view, being born is like dying, and dying is like being born. I mean, not exactly, but there's different points of view you can take here. But in any case, without awareness, experience, consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, there is no universe.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Just think about it logically. Okay, you have another question?
I mean, I have one more after this, but we can.
Okay, good. Well, do you have more questions about this?
I mean, in this one, I just wanted to just talk about how things could be null, like how they are of no importance, which is like either this world is an illusion or there's no personal self. That's what I was thinking of.
Well, what if both of those are true? How would that make any difference to you?
If both of them are true, then the thing that matters to me is to bring that into my own experience for me to believe.
Well, it's already in your experience. You just don't want to accept it. You'll see.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the question I had on that, and then I have another question.
It's so fascinating. Humans looking for what they are, seeking their own true nature, what is right in front of them, and right behind them, and right under them, and above them. It's in the 10 directions. Okay, but good. Just keep trucking. This is how you do it.
The next one is, it's again a small paragraph. I'll just read it out. When great enlightening beings dedicate all roots of goodness in this way, they understand that all realms of sentient beings have no sentient beings. They understand that all things have no life. They know that all things have no creator. They realize all things have no personality. And then they say a few more lines, but that's the thing that I
But
want.
let's hear those. Let's get to those lines too.
Okay. They comprehend that all things have no conflict. They see that all things come from conditions and have no abode. They know all things have no basis. They know all lands have no location. They observe that enlightening beings' practices also have no locus. They see that all objects have no existence.
I mean, so this is extraordinary. Think about this is the 2nd century, and they're able to articulate this. So what part of this is giving you trouble?
So they said they understand that all realms of sentient beings have no sentient beings. They understand that all things have no life. So these two lines.
Well, you're taking them isolated, right? But so oh boy, I hate to do this, because it makes my eyebrows fall out. But imagine you have a dream. You go to sleep tonight. You have a dream. You walk alongside the river and you see a boat full of people. And these people are singing. They're having a great time. And they're getting across the river. They get across the river, then they get out, and they walk off into the woods. Now, were there any sentient beings?
I mean, not in their dream, it's an imagination.
Right. So all it's saying is this is a play of consciousness. And I know that's hard to accept, but once you accept it and you realize that's what else could it be but a play of consciousness, then that sentence is not so jarring. Now, admittedly, they're saying some radical stuff because they want to wake you up. Okay? And, you have the Mahayana, which talks about saving sentient beings, even though there is no sentient beings to be saved. So this is a deep understanding, okay?
So if
and it's not nihilistic, all right? It's not nihilistic, but it's not concretizing either. So it's not one way, it's two ways of looking at the same thing. It's actually more than that. But for the human brain, it's hard to accept this.
So I have
that the world is your consciousness. And that's all it is. But if I take the shortcut and my eyebrows are starting to ache really bad here, and you imagine it a dream, you have no problem accepting all of that.
Yeah.
Now, what if the dream was so vivid that you thought, this was you could smell the river, you could smell the grass, you could hear the people singing, you could see the sunlight reflected in the water. It's so real that you're sure it's real, right? But in fact, it's not real. It's a play of consciousness. Now, if it seems real, then you're going to say, well, it seems real, so it must be real. But then you wake up and same thing with virtual reality that's coming down on us.
Yeah.
When the computers get so good that you think you're in a reality, but it's not. It's an illusion, which is also not a great word, but it's Maya. It's a play of consciousness.
Yeah.
And when people got to start getting used to this too, by the way. But this earth, the rules that we have on this earth, the ones that govern life and growing and greed and the seasons and all this is the most beautiful dream there is. I mean, it's inconceivable to imagine a more beautiful dream than this one. More full, and more extraordinary, miraculous. But who knows, right? Who knows? So, okay. Any other problems with that passage?
I think it's something, I don't know where I read it, whether in a Zen book or in this one, but I think this said that whatever I experience and whatever I don't experience, the truth is beyond that. So if I go
Fair.
so if I
Fair.
go yeah, so if I accept that premise, then this is not a problem. But then it's accepting a premise that I have not experienced. It's like faith.
Okay, so let's just take a baby step. Can you tell me the location that you occupy? You can't tell me where you are. I mean, you could say, okay, well, I'm on planet Earth and I'm on this continent and I'm in this city, right? But you still haven't told me where you are. And you can't place the Earth. I mean, they used to think it was the center of the universe. Now this common consensus that the universe has no center and it's expanding, right?
Yeah.
So where is it located? So the only thing we can say is it appears to be relative to this, it appears to be this. But none of those things give us a location in reality. So here we are, we have no location in space that we can pin down. I mean, maybe we do, but we can't say what it is. The same thing's true in time. We can't pin it down. And as you get more comfortable with these facts of human existence, right? Or existence, then it comes easier. So let's go to the next question.
I think that was the next question about this.
Which?
I mean, the thing that I asked, which is there are no sentient beings. They're like, there are like all realms of sentient beings have no sentient beings. They understand.
And then you're going to find a paragraph where there are sentient beings. It's like Zen, non-dual traditions, or Zen. It's not one. It's not two. So if we take that for sentient beings, there are no sentient beings, but there are sentient beings at the same time. So it's like a superposition, I guess.
It's
something like that.
Isn't that like a different level of understanding? So like at one level there are
that's non-dual understanding.
Yeah.
And then but I've butchered it, right? But you start to be comfortable with the fact. So let's say you're in the dream. Okay, I join you in the dream, and we're standing on that riverbank. And I say to you, are those people in the boat, are they real? Now we're within the dream. Do they exist? And you say, of course they exist. I can hear them singing. I can see them rowing the boat. And I would say, yes, they do. But I could also say, no, they don't. You're dreaming. And we dream a world, right? Yeah. We dream a universe. We dream a cosmos. Dream is not the right word. But then it goes even further than that, because when I say you dream or I dream or we dream or anything like that, I've already created a duality, which likewise is neither one nor two. Not one, not two.
Yeah.
And those are the only two possibilities, and neither one of them, you can't grab either one. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is a miracle, if you ask me. The miracle of awareness, of consciousness, of existence. I mean, can you explain where this came from? Or...
No, I can only say it's above my pay grade.
All right, good. Yeah. So raise your pay grade and keep going. That's the whole name of the game. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Anything else before we stop?
No, that was it.
All right, good. Take good care.
Thank you.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.